Greystone was the kind of town where time seemed to have slowed to a crawl. A patchwork of cobblestone streets, weathered wooden houses, and endless fields of amber wheat stretched toward the horizon, encased by the dense pine forests that seemed to whisper secrets to those who dared to listen. On the night it happened, the sky was unnaturally clear, as if the very fabric of the cosmos had pulled back, offering a window into the infinite beyond. The Milky Way cut through the sky like a silver river, and constellations blinked with a brilliance rarely witnessed by human eyes. 7-year-old Leo, a boy with tousled dark hair and eyes greener than the forest itself, was chasing fireflies behind his family's cabin. His laughter mingled with the chirping of crickets, echoing softly in the cool summer air. His mother, Clara, stood at the old stone well, filling a bucket. Her hands were worn from years of working the land, but her gaze often drifted toward her son with that tender vigilance only a mother possesses. A sudden wind rose, not a natural breeze, but something electric. The hairs on her arms stood on end. The air smelled of ozone, charged like the moments before a lightning strike. Then, silence. A silence so profound it seemed to swallow the world. No wind, no crickets, not even the distant hoot of an owl. Clara turned. "Leo," she called. Her voice fractured the silence, but no answer came. Her eyes scanned the field. Panic bloomed in her chest. She dropped the bucket, water splashing onto her boots, and sprinted toward where she had last seen him. But Leo was gone. In his place, etched into the earth, was a perfectly symmetrical circle, roughly 3 meters in diameter. The grass inside was seared, blackened, but not burned in a way fire would. Instead, it looked as though every blade had been disassembled at the molecular level, left brittle and crystalline. At the center of the circle was a faint glow, a soft, pulsating light that shimmered between blue and violet, as though the ground itself was breathing. Clara fell to her knees, screaming his name. Her cries echoed into the indifferent void of the cosmos. The search lasted until dawn. Dozens of townsfolk scoured the woods, fields, and riverbanks. But there was no trace, no footprints, no broken branches, no signs of struggle. It was as if the very atoms of Leo's being had been unraveled and spirited away into the stars. At precisely 3:33 a.m., 3 nights after his disappearance, the entire town of Greystone was jolted awake by a strange, low-frequency hum. Windows rattled, dogs howled, lights flickered in unnatural pulses. Clara, sleepless and hollow-eyed, was staring out her bedroom window when she saw it. A pillar of cold, bluish light, thin as a thread, descended silently from the sky, striking the same spot where Leo had vanished. It lasted no more than 5 seconds, then disappeared, leaving nothing but darkness and the lingering echo of that hum vibrating in her bones. She ran, barefoot, heart pounding like a war drum. When she reached the clearing, her legs nearly gave out. There, standing motionless at the center of the scorched circle, was Leo. His skin was pale, almost luminescent under the moonlight. His eyes were open but glazed, staring at something far beyond the visible world. His little hands hung at his sides, fingers twitching as though moving in rhythm with an invisible current. Clara fell to her knees, scooping him into her arms. But the moment her hands touched his skin, she recoiled, not from heat or cold, but from an overwhelming sensation of wrongness. His body vibrated, ever so slightly, as if every atom were oscillating just a fraction out of phase with reality. And then she saw it. Just below his left ear, nestled at the curve of his neck, was a mark, a triangle, comprised of concentric lines and 3 small circles at each vertex, forming a fractal pattern that seemed impossible to focus on. The more she stared, the more it felt as if the symbol shifted, folding in upon itself like a higher dimensional object. It shimmered, not ink, not scar tissue, but something that seemed to be made of light woven into flesh. Leo blinked. His lips parted. "Mommy, they're not finished yet." Then his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed into her arms. In the days that followed, Leo was not the same. His speech became fragmented, interspersed with strange, rhythmic sequences that no one recognized. A haunting combination of clicks, guttural pulses, and harmonic tones that seemed to resonate beyond human hearing. At night, Clara would find him standing by the window, staring unblinking at the sky for hours. Sometimes he would raise his hands, fingers forming strange mudra-like shapes, as if signaling to something or someone out there. His drawings changed too. No longer were they of trees, cars, or houses. Now, he drew stellar maps, circuits, and architectural diagrams of structures no human mind could have conceived. Endless black towers, floating tetrahedrons, spiraling fractal geometries. Every image contained the same symbol, the triangle with its triple orbs. And then there was the magnetic anomaly. Any device brought within 2 meters of Leo would fail. Phones shut down. Watches spun erratically. Compasses lost direction entirely, pointing toward him rather than magnetic north. Animals fled his presence. Birds would fall silent. Insects disappeared. Even worse, there were moments, fleeting yet undeniable, where his shadow would split. For a brief second, multiple silhouettes would flicker behind him, all slightly out of sync, like overlapping frames in a broken film. One evening, Clara attempted to remove the mark, desperate, terrified. She scrubbed. She used alcohol, soap, even tried scraping gently with a dull knife. But the mark wasn't on the skin. It was beneath it, glowing softly whenever touched, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. And every time her fingers brushed it, a whisper would rise, not from Leo's lips, but from somewhere deep inside her own mind. The veil is thinning. The wind stood still. The trees seemed petrified, as though nature itself was holding its breath. That night, the air carried an invisible weight, an unsettling tension that made the skin prickle without any apparent reason. Clara watched Leo sitting on the porch, his eyes fixed on the horizon. His feet swung in the air, yet his face bore none of the softness of childhood. It was the gaze of someone who had seen and endured something no mind should ever process. "Mummy," his voice came low, almost metallic. "They are waiting for us, under the mountain." Clara froze. "What? Who's waiting?" Her voice trembled, maternal instinct fighting against a rising terror. Leo didn't answer. He merely pointed. His small fingers directed her gaze towards the black hills rising at the northern edge of Greystone, a forgotten rock formation, far too ancient for modern records, wrapped in legends of nameless people. The following morning, driven by fear, desperation, and love, Clara sought answers. That was when she remembered someone. A name whispered among the elders. Someone thought mad, yet now made perfect sense. Ezekiel Harper, the forest hermit. His cabin stood deep within a twisted woodland, surrounded by totems made of bones, entwined branches, and broken mirrors dangling from ropes. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and heavy incense. Ezekiel opened the door before Clara had a chance to knock. His clouded, tearful eyes glowed with something almost supernatural. "The triangle appeared, hasn't it?" he said, before Clara uttered a single word. She stood motionless. "How?" He pointed inside, inviting her in. The walls were covered with hand-drawn star maps, blurred photographs of lights in the sky, and diagrams showing symbols identical to the mark on Leo's neck. On a stone table rested a vast book, bound in dark leather, its faded title written in an unrecognizable tongue. Ezekiel pulled out a chair. "What you need to understand, Clara," he began, lighting a small bundle of herbs, "is that your son wasn't chosen. He was reactivated." Clara's eyes widened. "Reactivated? What does that mean?" Ezekiel drew a long breath and began to speak, his voice belonging to another time. Thousands of years ago, before any human civilization arose, there existed beings, entities who walked both the earth and the stars. The architects, the progenitors, they modified the genome of certain life forms here, left behind codes, keys, dormant. The triangle with 3 circles isn't a mark. It's a genetic seal, a beacon, a catalyst. He turned a page in the book, revealing a detailed illustration of a reptilian creature, immense, with obsidian shining scales, slitted golden eyes, and a presence radiating raw power. They are the children of Orion, the Vurakthal, ancestral reptilians, guardians of the underworld, of space-time, and the lost memories of this planet. He pointed to a map of the region. Beneath those mountains lies a structure, an ancient complex, built long before the concept of human time existed. Portals, machines, laboratories, and prisons. And now, they're waking. Clara brought her hands to her face. But, Leo, what have they done to him? Ezekiel narrowed his eyes, as though choosing each word with care. They haven't done anything. They've unlocked him. Your son carries the Orion sequence. He's one of the marked. One of the few capable of activating what's buried beneath Greystone. And for that reason, they're not the only ones coming. The cabin trembled. A deep vibration, like the muffled roar of a colossal machine buried far beneath the earth. Ezekiel stood abruptly. They've arrived. The journey to the mountain's base took place under a black moon, shrouded by thick clouds that resembled metallic smoke. Every step Clara took over the dry leaves echoed like thunder in the oppressive night. Leo walked ahead. His feet glided over the ground as though he knew exactly where to go, as if guided by an invisible map stitched into the fabric of the universe. Upon reaching the mountain slope, Clara saw something that should not exist. A massive circular rock, perfectly smooth, embedded into the stone wall. Around it, symbols glowed, the same triangular patterns, intertwined with curved lines pulsing in blue, gold, and emerald. Leo raised his hand, and the mark on his neck illuminated, emitting a wave of light that sliced through the air like a solid hologram. With a deep rumble, almost like the growl of a colossal beast, the door opened. The interior was impossible. A spherical chamber, with black walls that seemed to absorb all light yet somehow reflected stars. It wasn't a physical space. It felt like standing inside a bubble of reality, suspended within the void between dimensions. At the center, 3 figures waited. They were reptilians, tall, over 8 feet, bodies covered in scales that shimmered like liquid metal beneath the ethereal light. Their eyes, golden and slit-pupilled, burned with an intelligence so ancient that time itself seemed irrelevant. The largest of them stepped forward. His voice didn't come as sound. It arrived directly in Clara and Leo's minds, a telepathic vibration resonating in their ribs, stomach, and soul. The seal is broken. The air has awakened. Another moved closer. You humans are about to face the return of the consumers of the veil. Entities beyond matter, beyond space. Only those bearing the mark will survive the unfolding. The third, with silver eyes, stared directly at Clara. Your son carries not just the key. He is the bridge. The ground trembled again. Metallic sounds, like cyclopean doors opening deep underground, filled the air. And then, the largest extended his hand, revealing something that stole Clara's breath. Come, human. What lies below must be seen, before the sky tears and the world unravels. When Clara stepped through the circular portal, the physical world seemed to fold, crack, and yield. What lay beyond wasn't merely an underground complex, but a space disconnected from linear reality. Corridors of black mirrored material stretched at impossible angles. The walls pulsed with veins of liquid light, and symbols floated in the air like living holograms, mutating, reconfiguring into an alien language that seemed to sing inside her brain. This isn't a constructed place. It's a living organism, a machine being created before your son was born, explained the reptilian leader, his voice echoing directly into Clara's mind. Floating pillars displayed scenes, planets being terraformed, galaxies forming, and human bodies suspended in tanks, hybrids with both human and reptilian features. Horror and fascination collided in Clara's chest. They reached a central chamber, a gigantic sphere, kilometers in diameter. At its heart, suspended by beams of golden light, rested a colossal crystalline structure, throbbing like a cosmic heart. "What is that?" Clara asked, her voice breaking. The reptilian answered, "It's the Orion core, an interdimensional memory bank. Stored here are the consciousnesses, technologies, and alternative timelines of our species and yours. What you call a soul is merely a copy from this archive." And then he revealed what Clara feared most. Your son, Leo, was activated because he holds the genetic code for complete synchronization with the core. He's one of the few who can access the forbidden record. Lights flickered, alarms blared. They've arrived, the devastators of the Veil. The cavern ceiling began to tremble, not from physical movement, but because the very fabric of space was tearing. Cracks of pure darkness slashed the air, dimensional fissures where nothingness bled into reality. From these rifts, they emerged, forms made of pure antimatter, gigantic, amorphous, with bodies like black clouds studded with crimson eyes. Wherever their limbs touched, reality simply ceased. Walls vanished, matter disintegrated, light was swallowed. Clara watched, petrified, as one of these entities absorbed an entire section of the chamber, sucking existence into a vortex of void. The reptilian leader twisted a floating dial. Pillars of blue energy rose, creating a containment field. They are the Vorak, extra-dimensional beings who feed on the collapse of realities. They destroyed the civilizations of Vega, Antares, and Zeta Reticuli. Now, Earth is their target. Leo raised his hands. His eyes glowed brilliantly, pure white, without pupils. Symbols began to orbit his body. He was activating something. Mummy, the machine, it's waking up. At the heart of the core, a colossal structure began to emerge from the ground, as though pulled from a folded dimension. It was a machine. No, more than a machine, a temple machine, made of metal, crystal, and bones. Bones of species Clara couldn't even begin to recognize. At the temple's peak, a sphere opened, releasing a beam of golden light that shot through the mountain, piercing the sky. In orbit, satellites exploded. The International Space Station vanished in a flash. But above all, an enormous portal opened in the heavens. Through it, Clara saw a fleet. Colossal ships, miles in length, shaped like inverted black triangles, pouring out of the portal. Around them, reptilian forms, spiral crafts, and cylindrical objects that seemed alive. This is the Orion Defense Protocol. The last time it was activated, Atlantis fell, said the reptilian. Leo, arms raised, was controlling the energy flow. The machine began emitting a vibration that was neither sound nor light, but a command to the fabric of reality itself. The dimensional fissures began to close, pulling the Vorak back into nothingness. But something went wrong. A creature, far larger than the others, remained trapped on this side. It was indescribable, a mass of mouths, eyes, limbs, and structures defying all known physics. Space twisted around it. "If we don't seal it now, it'll consume the entire planet," shouted the reptilian. Leo looked at Clara. For the first time, he seemed afraid. "Mummy, if I do this, I won't be me anymore." The reptilian leader placed a hand on her shoulder. "He'll become the guardian. His consciousness will fuse with the core. He won't die, but he'll no longer be merely human." Tears streamed down Clara's face. She held Leo's hands tightly. "My son, my brave little star, do it. Save them. Save us all." Leo closed his eyes. His body began dissolving into particles of light. Every atom split, multiplied, and was absorbed by the machine. The core pulsed violently. Beams of light exploded in all directions. The cavern walls burst outward, revealing that the entire mountain was the machine. From above, it resembled a colossal mandala, circles within circles, interwoven with triangles and fractal lines. The sky opened. A blast of golden light shot into space, sweeping across the planet. The fissures closed. The monster was pulled back, disintegrating into billions of shards of reverse matter. The Orion fleet vanished as though it had never existed. And at the center of the core, where Leo had stood, there remained only a small floating sphere, pulsing gently. Within it, the reflection of a boy, smiling, his eyes filled with stars. The veil is restored. For now. Clara returned to Greystone. The world continued as though nothing had happened. People forgot. The media blamed satellite failures, rare auroras, unusual weather phenomena. But Clara knew. At the nape of her neck, a small triangular mark now glowed. And on the quietest nights, gazing at the sky, she could hear a familiar voice. "Mummy, I'm watching. I'm always here." And high above, far beyond the edge of the galaxy, the eyes of something, or someone, kept watching.